All right, what's up, guys? We are joined by our resident hoops expert, Adam Spencer, to talk about a team who, I'm rocking the shirt right now. Arkansas, possibly the hottest team in the country right now, it seems like in basketball. First off, Adam, how you doing today?
Yes, sir. Let's talk some Arkansas hoops.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
So just we're recording this on a Friday, and obviously we're going into the weekend. But this is going into we're about a month away from March Madness, and we're looking at some of these teams where I know earlier this week we had a conversation about, is this a conference that could possibly get two number one seeds in the NCAA tournament? I feel like we talked about this a week ago. Arkansas is not a team I feel like that you would sleep on. How far can this team go? And do you think it's a team that could possibly even reach that kind of status and get a number one seed, even though they're unranked right now?
yeah, at this point in the season, I think that maybe like a 2 seed would be the best they could hope. I mean, but close out the season strong if they keep this winning streak going. But they have some tough games. They've still got, just over the next few weeks, they've got to still play Kentucky. They've still got to play Tennessee. So they've still got some tough games on the schedule. But I think a 2 seed is probably the ceiling for this. But you go undefeated and you win the SEC tournament. Now all of a sudden we're talking about a fringe 1 seed. I mean, you're going to need a team like Purdue to lose again. You're probably going to need another loss from Auburn, a couple losses from Kentucky. Exactly. So there's still a lot of work that Arkansas needs to do, but just there's just keep winning. just win, baby, as Al Davis said, and let the rest of it sort itself out.
It's kind of one of those things too that Auburn has kind of done for the conference, where and I know Kentucky has been they're a top five team, and they've played really well throughout the season, but like it's almost a huge benefit to what they've done, because if another team is able to make a run here in February through March and in this go through, like you said, the SEC basketball tournament down in Tampa, if they could somehow go through that and finish unscathed, I think. I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but it seems like a 1 seed would be possibly the limit for a team like Arkansas, especially with where they're at now. It still blows my mind that we're coming off of just talking about some of the games so far, like where they're in this middle of this 9-game winning streak. Like you've seen them play all season. We've seen them. It's a team like we talked about last week that it seems like it's getting hot at the right time. What is the ceiling for this team in terms of where they can go in March?
Yeah, last year is the bar. They made it to the Elite Eight, and JD Note was a big contributor on that team. And then now they have a lot of other guys around. But if you look at just some of the comparisons between that team, this has just as much potential as last year's team. You have Jalen Williams. He's been the key to this whole 9-game winning streak. He's really come on strong. He's still in that role that Justin Smith had last year, and he's still averaging below 10 points a game, but over the last few games during this 9-game winning streak, he's averaging almost a double-double. So, his numbers scoring wise are coming up. And he's a better rebounder than Justin Smith. He's averaging almost 10 a game already. So, if he continues to develop into that scorer, then he has the potential to be even better than Justin Smith was last year. And that's saying something, because Justin Smith was really good last year. JD Note, he's a much better version of himself from last year. He's really blowing what he did last year out of the water. He's playing like an SEC player of the year, number 2 right now behind Oscar Tshiebwe. But we're coming up on a game that's going to settle that head to head a little bit. So I think that JD Note is a better version of himself. So you have that. He's sort of filling the role that Moses Moody had last year.
Yeah.
And they don't. Arkansas doesn't have the lottery pick on its team this year, and that's something that it misses. But JD Note is the scorer that they need,
right?
And then you have guys like Tony, Stanley Umude, who are filling the role that JD Note and Jalen Tate played last year. So you have all those guys, and then the X factors are Chris Likes. They didn't have anybody like Chris Likes off the bench. Like that guy was JD Note, but now they already have JD Note. So now this is just like a little bit of a bonus that they have there. Right. So, I think he's going to play a big role before all is said and done. But just don't be surprised. Team is in the mix for another Elite Eight run. And then, once you get to March Madness, it's all just, you have to play your matchups.
Right.
When they ran into Baylor, it's like, okay, well, Baylor was the national title winner. So,
and they played them really tough too, which is like,
they gave them a better game than Gonzaga did.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and real quick, so you brought up Moses Moody, and I think it's an interesting point you make, because the comparison between him and Note, like you're right, Note is not going to be a lottery pick or anything like that. But Moody, for as good as Moody was, and as talented as that kid is, not taking anything away from him, it's also a guy that kind of disappeared for part of the postseason and stuff like that. And so a lot of the stuff they were able to do was not, I don't want to say in spite of his performance, but it was like you do kind of wonder what it looked like if he had played up to his potential. With a guy like Note, him going into the postseason, it like you always talk about this, like with like just teams in general when you're in March Madness, like what is the key? And it's like when you're filling out a bracket, it's always like, you'll hear 1,000 different things, like, oh, you need a senior laden front or backcourt, you need to have, like experience, you need to have a score, you need to have a score, basically, is what I've always like kind of like preached, because there's just not like, it's just like baseball, like, right? Like hitters are going to play. And so in basketball, obviously, like scores and like that's in a deep March run. If you're trying to make that, you're going to need that guy, like somebody to come pick you up. And like, if you're in a tight spot, which seems to always happen in March, can JD Note be that guy? And is that a person that is like, I know you already mentioned like the X factor for this team, but when you talk about like, in terms of comparing him to like the other people in the country, let's face it, because we're living in a world right now where a guy named Chet Holmgren might be the number one pick in the NBA draft, which is, my God, that's ridiculousness. But like in comparison to some of these other players around the country, does JD Note have the ability to lift this team up and be that X factor to try to get them to not just an Elite Eight, but like a Final Four and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. He's not afraid of the moment. He's a volume scorer. You have to have that. You're right. Having a scorer, a guy who can create his own shot when the half court offense isn't working, is so key, because everything gets a little tighter in March Madness,
right?
Especially the further you get. So JD Note, moment, he's been there before. He was a key member of that team last year. So when Moses Moody was struggling, because he was a freshman, Moses Moody was last year, JD Note was there to step up and fill some of that role. I wouldn't call him the X factor though. The X factor is Devo Davis still, just
right.
like he was last year. If you look at Davis's numbers, like they're almost identical right now to what he was doing, averaging last year. But last year he came on strong at the end, and he was really like a guy who just had so many big defensive moments and just the energy for this team. So if he can up his game a little bit more down the stretch, like that's just like he becomes that X factor again, just like he was last year. And that's what makes Arkansas such a dangerous team, because then you add in all these other pieces. Jalen Williams, who has the potential to be better than Justin Smith last year. You have JD Note, who's better than JD Note. You have some of these other guys who are filling in. So it's a deep team too.
It really is, and they're so well coached too with Musselman. And I think the only downside of this, just kind of wrapping up, is like the only downside of Arkansas basketball moving forward is you don't get to take Bud Walton Arena with you into the postseason, because my God, what a scene we saw there against Auburn, and upsetting the number one team in the country. And it still blows my mind that we've gotten into this before. We don't need to get into it now. I don't know who's voting on the top 25. I know a couple weeks ago I saw that because it was showing the AP poll, it's like, here's the highest they were ranked, here's the lowest they were ranked, and Auburn is ranked clearly. Auburn is clearly the number one team in the country, and somebody had them ranked at 18th, and you're like, what? like how is that possible? The fact that Arkansas hasn't been ranked after 8 straight wins going into that Auburn win was kind of beside me, or just had me beside myself. But man, what an atmosphere, what a scene, and what a moment for that fan base. So we'll definitely keep track of it, and we'll keep giving some updates, stuff like that. You've been spot on so far, man. Thank God, because most of us on these videos have not been. So we appreciate it as always. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, follow us at SDS Basketball down the stretch run here, and go to bluechipgrit.com. Sign up for the twice weekly free newsletter. We're getting a lot of subscriptions now, so join in on the fun.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, we appreciate it, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See ya.